My name is Hugh Oliver, Associate Director of Cooperative Contracts here with Sourcewell, and I am excited to welcome Garrison Flood Control into the studio today as a newly awarded supplier with Sourcewell. And I'm joined today by Arnon Rosen with Garrison Flood Control. Arnon, welcome.
Thank you. Fantastic to be here.
We're excited to have you. So, just tell us a little bit about who Garrison Flood Control is and, what is it that you guys do?
Yeah. So Garrison Flood Control is a manufacturer of flood barriers and water diversion products. So essentially, we will help buildings and infrastructure get protected against flood risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously with Sourcewell, the Sourcewell contracts are primarily utilized by government and education entities. So for those groups, what's kind of the use case for your products in the local government or the education space?
Yeah, great question. So we kind of look at flood control in three ways. We have water diversion, which is moving water from one area to another. We have perimeter protection, which is surrounding something of high value. And we have entryway protection. So government agencies, fire stations, power plants, schools, all have flooding problems. And we have flooding in all 50 states in this country. I think people often say, well, we're not in Florida, but Florida, everyone knows floods, right? But there's flooding in Pennsylvania, Pacific Northwest, the Northeast. So we help government facilities get protected against some of their flood risks. So if you think about flooding in the United States, you've obviously got hurricane risk, which everybody thinks about. But I think what people don't think about often is riverine flooding, which is the overflow of rivers. Storm surge flooding is common, but there's also king tide risk. So in low-lying communities, just a high tide might cause flooding in a downtown area. So we look to try and protect against all of these risks.
Okay, so it's not just those major disaster events with rivers flooding and hurricanes, but other practical uses as well outside of, I think what most people think about when they think about, flood mitigation and the types of events that you'd prepare for.
Exactly. So I'm out of our New York office, and in the last couple of years, we've had a number of storms in New York that have been just microburst storms. Nothing that really hit anybody's radar as being something that was going to turn as serious as it did, but then you ended up with 2-3 feet of water flooding areas of the west side in Manhattan, of Brooklyn. So flood risks are definitely increasing in this country, and we're here to address those needs.
So, Arnon, when you say flood control products, in my mind, that could be any number of things. What does that really look like in terms of the products themselves?
Right, so we have a range of products, and we actually keep trying to innovate and fill product gaps where there's a need that emerges and we haven't necessarily solved it yet. So as an example, we started with these L-shaped barriers, but we've evolved to selling aluminum flood barriers for entryway protection. We do water-filled flood barriers, so if you have, let's say, a riverfront, we can deploy a water-filled barrier that inflates with a fire hose and fights water with water. We have super absorbent bags that you could deploy. They're almost like diapers, but they're in the shape of sandbags, and when they touch the water, they inflate and create a barrier that way. We've recently introduced a high-pressure inflatable barrier that's interesting. It's made out of a similar material to a stand-up paddleboard, but you can actually pressurize that into a window opening or a vent or a doorway, and that'll stop flooding. So you actually inflate it to 15 psi. It's got seals on either side and pressures against the wall. We're about to introduce a flip-up barrier that automatically deploys in the event of a flood for a driveway or a large opening. So if you have a subway system or a large building that has an underground garage, that'll automatically deploy, because people often ask, what if nobody's there to deploy it? So we're really trying to innovate. We're trying to get ahead of it. We're trying to solve problems that government agencies, municipalities, schools all have, because all of these types of buildings flood.
Obviously, it sounds like your portfolio is pretty broad. Tell us a little bit about your approach to developing new products and kind of identifying the needs within that, that flood mitigation area that you believe you can improve on, and how do you continue meeting more needs against something as big as flooding?
Yeah, so something that's really important culturally in our company is that the salespeople are really taught to put their ear to the ground and understand what a customer's need is. So if someone says, look, I need to protect a window opening, and we don't have a window product, or didn't at the time, that gets fed up through the chain of command. So we say, oh wow, someone has a need for something. How are we going to solve this problem? And then we begin the process of thinking through the best way to solve the problem, the engineering related to that, and then ultimately when we get to a product that we feel could do the job, we put it through testing. We put it through water tank testing. We actually run computational fluid dynamics tests on the product. We want to make sure it can handle the hydrostatic and hydrodynamic pressures, because they can get pretty intense when a storm heats up and you've got a flowing river. Impact protection. So we'll run all of these tests to make sure that the products are proven before they get out into the field.
Okay. Is there a particular product that you're very proud of because of the way that you developed it and the engineering that went into putting it together?
Yeah, so our Hammerhead product is our largest selling product. I would say the big differentiator that we have versus anyone else in the marketplace is we actually have the engineering to show that this product can handle these stresses. You can get knockoffs from overseas, but the reality is our product is 100% manufactured in the United States. We fabricate everything in Florida at our manufacturing facility, and we've got the engineering to prove it. So, especially if you're a government agency and you're looking to protect a structure, you want to make sure that your steel is 316L stainless, not a 304, because if you're in South Carolina and in a salt air environment, it's going to corrode. So these are kind of the differentiators that we try and make sure people understand, because certainly you're looking to protect this building for 10 years, not for a year and then it corrodes and falls apart. So we really take that very seriously.
So it sounds like the products that you design and that you're providing to the end users are really built to stand the test of time and serve them for many years in the future.
Exactly, absolutely. And our Hammerhead, we've had systems out for many, many years that have proven themselves through Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene, multiple hurricanes. So we're sort of battle tested, right? Which is not something most people can. It's a fairly nascent industry, right? So not many people can actually say their products have been through all these hurricanes.
Yeah. Well, are there any projects that you've been a part of, or any success stories that really get you excited?
Yeah, so we do everything from home protection through protecting hospitals, power plants, transit systems. One that we did that was really interesting a couple of years ago, the city of Salt Lake was having a flooding problem because they had a particularly large snowpack that year, and as that spring melt runoff came, they were overflowing their culverts and they were overflowing their rivers. And this was flowing right into residential areas of Salt Lake. So they called us in a panic and said, how many of these portable barriers do you have? And we deployed what's called our MIAM, or L-shaped barriers. They interlock and create a sequence of panels. We did something like a mile or two of material, and we redirected water that was flowing into a neighborhood down a street. And they actually turned a city street into a river.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So just out of curiosity, how many of those barriers does it take to turn a city street into a river for a mile or two of diversion?
Right. So in a case like that, I think it was 2,200 of our mine barriers that we used for that. Wow. And we'll do everything from 4 barriers at a door opening to 2,200 barriers to redirect a river. Sometimes construction will happen on a bridge, and we'll do what's called a cofferdam, where we'll surround an area, drain the water on the back, and then give room for workers to work while the water is sort of being diverted.
Okay. So it sounds like this is a scalable solution. It's not just a large format product. That it can be smaller needs, larger needs, and it can be really customized to the agency or the end user's need.
Exactly. So we'll ask a customer to provide us with pictures and measurements of their facility, and then we'll send someone to survey the facility and take some exact measurements, but we can get them a rough idea on pricing with some pictures. So they might have, let's say, an underground garage that has a 18-foot driveway that heads down to it. Well, when the water starts coming in, it just flows right down that ramp, and they'll end up flooding out 40 cars in a lower level of a garage. So we'll come in, we'll measure that, and we'll figure out what type of a system can be deployed quickly to stop the water from coming down the garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Now, are the solutions that you offer, is it product only, or do you offer products, services, a combination thereof?
Yeah, so we're primarily a manufacturer, but we do have an installation arm. Our installation arm will travel usually through the Southeast, but we've done projects and actually installed it ourselves in New York. We did, the New York Power Authority had a power plant in Queens that we protected. We've traveled to Utah, we've traveled to California, North Carolina, a lot of work in Charleston. But Florida is really our home base, so we can very easily do install site surveys, product sales all throughout there and the rest of the country. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the participating agencies utilizing the Sourcewell contract can access the products and the installation services through Garrison.
Exactly.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And we're excited. We're excited by being a part of Sourcewell, because a lot of times we will be in a situation where someone has a really urgent need, right? They know a storm's coming, they want to get something in 4 or 5 days, and they don't have time to go through this complex procurement process. But knowing that they have this on Sourcewell enables them to make a quick decision and make a quick buy that addresses a quick need, because flood protection, unfortunately, people should be planning well in advance for these things, but a lot of times it's a named storm in the Atlantic, and oh my gosh, we've got to do something in the next 10 days.
Yeah. And bids don't come together that quickly typically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that is an exciting route to procurement for the agencies, especially in those scenarios where they don't have the time to go through the full bid process, but they do need that product or that solution, whatever it might be, to protect the vital infrastructure in their community.
Exactly. And we've had people come to us. There were a series of hurricanes in quick succession in '24 in Florida, and we had a lot of government agencies throughout the west coast of Florida calling and going, how quickly can you get us something, and how can we get this procured? So the user says, wow, I really need this, but when they go to the purchasing department, they say, no, we can't do that quickly enough. They have some emergency buying powers, but a lot of times that's sort of cut off at a certain threshold, and it's still hard to get that through the system quickly enough.
Well, we are very excited to have you on board as an awarded supplier. And looking forward to your future success with the agencies that we collectively serve.
No, we appreciate the whole process. It was a challenging process to get to the awarded status, but we are excited to be here, and we are looking forward to the future together.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.